Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This one is April 2019 curriculum-based social studies, going fast as usual. I'll do numbers 1 to 20 in this video, then the other 20 in another video. So you should see that this item is very familiar. As we told you, the items repeat from time to time. So here's a map of the world and you're seeing X and Y. And it says which group originated from the areas labeled X and Y above. A says Africans and Chinese. B says British and Africans. C, East Indians and British. D, East Indians and Chinese. And we know it's D. See the importance of going through all the papers. Items repeat. All right, let's move on. Number 2. So you're filling in this timeline and you're seeing that the group for X is missing. So which group came in 1655? Of course, that's the British. That's B. Read then answer 3. Mary is concerned that the Indian culture in her community is dying, so she decided to revive the Hosay festival. She began by conducting a survey among older community members to gather information about the festival. Which question is least likely to give her relevant information to revive the festival? A says, what are the stages of the Hosay festival? B, when is the Hosay festival normally held? C, what is the significance of the Hosay festival? And D, how many persons usually attend the Hosay festival? That's D. That's the least. That's going to provide her with the least necessary information to revive the festival. Let's go to number 4. Which of the following is required at official ceremonies and meetings in Jamaica? Another familiar item. A says displaying an image of the lignum vitae. B says displaying an image of the hummingbird. C says serving of the national dish. And D says playing and singing of national anthem. And this is the answer. A repeated item again. All right. Do all the papers, items, do repeat. Here you have the 3 revision of the coat of arms. It says based on the images, which statement describes the changes made to the Jamaican coat of arms over the years? A says the tines were added. You can see that they've been there all along. B says the motto was changed. C says a helmet replaced the shield. And D says a pineapple was removed. And of course, you might not be seeing it well, but based on other papers with the item, it's B. The motto was changed. Moving on, which statement provides the best reason for the changes in the Jamaican coat of arms over the years? Another repeat item. For it to look visually appealing, to be changed on a regular basis, to be a reminder of slavery, or to reflect Jamaica's history, resources, and people. It's D. Guys, many items do repeat. Go through all the papers. Don't know what will come this year. All right. Which presents the best strategy for promoting Caribbean culture? Another repeat. Develop culture clubs in schools and communities. Teach aspects of North America. Can't be because it says Caribbean. C, organize independence celebration. D, restrict cultural celebrations to only a few groups. So which one would be best? It's going to be A. Develop cultural clubs in school. That will help to maintain and promote. All right, read for number 8. After slavery was abolished, the planters still wanted workers to keep the plantation going. However, the ex-slaves wanted to turn their backs on plantation work. The planters had the support of the British government behind them. The ex-slaves had nothing but their ambition, labor, and their power to withdraw it. They had no land for themselves, and there were very few things they could do in order to make a living. Many of the ex-slaves had to return to work on the plantations in order to survive, even though the pay was low. According to the passage, how was life for the ex-slaves after emancipation? A says they received good wages. No. B, they got along well with the planters. C, they were given work as well as land to build houses. D, they faced hardship and had no one to defend their rights. D. All right, moving on. Mr. Ramsarak, repeat item, left India in the late 1800s and migrated to Jamaica. Which was a push factor for him? A says poverty, B, job opportunities, C, hope for a better life, D, good wealth condition. Weather condition. A. All right. Let's read down here. They were not slaves. They were contract workers who agreed to work for a period known as indentureship in exchange for their passage to the New World. They came in search of new life in the Caribbean. Which group is not being described in the passage? So we know that the East Indians, the Portuguese, and the Chinese were not slaves. Those were indentured laborers. So it's got to be the British that they're not talking about. Moving on. Whoa. All right, they bought us, chained us together, and packed us on ships. Many died before reaching the destination, including those who took their own lives by throwing themselves overboard. Which option best describes the above experience? A says the hardship of workers on the plantation. No, nothing about them reach plantation yet. B, inhumane treatment of individuals. C, strong winds and waves at sea. D, kidnapping. It's B, inhumane treatment of individuals. Moving on. Hold on. Number 12. Which event did Jamaica participating on the path to independence? Another repeat. Jamaican joined forces with US soldiers in B, we become a republic in 1902. We're not a republic. C, we joined the West Indies Federation in 1958. D, we led a battle and defeated the British soldiers in 1865. And the answer is C, we joined the West Indies Federation. Remember, Michael did that. We never stayed in long. We had to come out. People never agreed with him. Your teacher gave you an assignment to find out Jamaica's reason for seeking independence from the Britain in 1962. Which question would you most likely ask to get this information? A says, when did Jamaica gain independence? B, how important was it for us to gain independence? C, from which country we got independence? D, how has life been since we got independence? And the answer would have to be B, how important was it? That would give the reason. 14, which of the following sources would be most suitable for gathering information about the life and work of Marcus Garvey? These just sound so repeated. A says a photograph of Marcus. B, a song about Marcus Garvey. C, the birth certificate. And D, an autobiography of Marcus Garvey. That would give you the most information. All right, moving on. Number 15. You were asked to write an essay about the history of St. Anne's Bay. Which of the following sources would be most helpful in writing the essay? A, a map of the parish of St. Anne. B, the cemetery at the parish church. C, records from the parish council. D, newspaper articles about the contribution of the mayors of St. Anne. No, can't be the mayors. Got to be records from the parish council. C. All right. We have another item here, Blues Peak and Mary's Peak. These are repeated from government sample items. See them coming all over. Why is Blues Peak cooler than Mary's Peak? A says Blues Peak and Mary's Peak are the same height. No, different in height. Blues Peak is higher than Mary's Peak. Yes. Mary's Peak is higher than Blues Peak. Look at the heights. No. Mary's Peak and Blues Peak are far apart. The answer is B. Blues Peak is higher than Mary's Peak. Let's go to number 17. Which human activity can negatively impact mountainous environments? A says replanting of trees. That is good. B, growing cocoa trees. C, preserving forest reserve. D, removal of trees. The only negative one here is removing trees. So the answer is D. Examine the relief map. So you have two sources here, a diagram, and from over here, you know, this is the windward side, and here's the leeward side. So you're looking at how the winds are coming up, going over. It says the mountains force the winds to rise, clouds are formed, da 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 da. Over here would be wet, over here is dry. Winds on this side are drier and they have little rain. Now here's a conversation between three students. In Jamaica, the windward side of the Blue Mountain receives a lot of rainfall, but the leeward side is much drier. We don't get that type of rainfall in Barbados, as the land is very flat. In St. Vincent, one side of the mountain gets more rainfall than the other side. All right, so which source would be most helpful in answering the question below? Do mountains have an effect on rainfall? Is it source 1, is it source 2, or is it both sources? I would say it's both sources, because source 2 is just the same thing as the relief map up top, showing you that the windward side gets more rain than the leeward side, just that source 2 puts it inward. Oh, no, 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 what am I doing here? Da, da, da. Let me click on do and see if I get back there. What is happening here? I've zoomed out too much. All right, so source 2, both sources, which would be C. All right, let's move on to let's look at number 19. Read the passage below, then select the correct order in which the word should be used to fill the blank. Kind of blurry, but a river flows in its, we know it's channel, so it's got to be between B and D, because river flows in its channel, and begins at the river begins at a source, so C. B says source next, so it's got to be B. Remember, it would have to be between B and D, because the first word is channel, and these two have channel. Second word is source, and B has source being the second word. With that, we don't need to go any further. You can read on if you want in the exam, but once you've picked that out, you really don't need to go any further. I don't need this magnifying thingy on. What's happening? All right, moving on. Number 20. The landforms labeled X and Y on the map are both examples of what now? So here we have the map. Remember that the map can come in different forms. For this one, they're not showing you the entire Caribbean map, entire world map. What you're seeing here is just the Caribbean region, Gulf of Mexico, and those, and a part of North America, these areas coming here. And so here you have the Caribbean. So you're looking for X and Y. Here is X and here is Y. So it's asking you what examples of landforms are these. Now remember that around the Caribbean here would be water. Get it? So these pieces of land coming out in the water, what are they? That's exactly what it's asking you. Are they isthmuses, archipelagos, peninsulas, or islands? Now hopefully you remember what these are. They are peninsulas. Remember, peninsulas are any pieces of land that juts out or protrudes out or projects out into water bodies, all right, into the ocean or the sea. So that's peninsula. Archipelago would be a group of tiny or small islands out in the sea or ocean. Isthmus is like a strait, so it's like a narrow piece of land that connects two broader pieces of land with water on either sides of the isthmus. And you should know what an island is. I don't need to tell you that. I did say I would go to 20, but I'm going to try up to 21, all right? Which statement is correct? Oceans are surrounded by land. That part is wrong, so it can't be this statement. B says oceans are larger and deeper, while seas are smaller and more shallow. That sounds true. C says sea contains salt water. That part is true, while oceans contain fresh water. That part is not true, so it couldn't be this one, couldn't be C. D says seas are surrounded by islands. No. While oceans are surrounded by continents. No. So the answer is oceans are larger and deeper while seas are that. So that's B. Here ends part 1